Hello there and welcome to Bad Juju. My name's Mama Jules and today our case comes from Newcastle in the north of the UK. It's a very upsetting case today, so please, if you're of a sensitive nature, turn off now. Otherwise, why not grab a tea or a coffee, get comfortable, and together we will investigate the very tragic case of Alice Ruggles. Alice Ruggles was born on Christmas Eve 1991 to parents Sue and Clive. She was the third of 4 children born to the couple, having a sister and 2 brothers, and was described by friends and family as a loving, empathetic person who was extremely outgoing, quick-witted and good fun. Her friends who knew her best said that she was a great listener and was always quick to check up on anybody and cheer them up. She quickly made friends wherever she went and was a natural entertainer, always leading the karaoke at parties. She and her 3 siblings grew up in a very close-knit family in the quiet rural village of Tor Langton, which is in Leicestershire in the UK. She attended Leicestershire High School for Girls, where her mum Sue also worked. She sang in the school choir, and at the age of 11 she discovered fencing and went on to represent her home county of Leicestershire and the East Midlands region numerous times in the sport. After finishing her further education, Alice went on to study at the University of Northumbria in the north of the UK, where she studied product design. She moved to Newcastle while studying at the university, and Alice fell in love with the city and decided to carry on living there after she'd graduated. She got a job with the media giant Sky at their Newcastle hub, and it wasn't long before her winning attitude paid off, and she was promoted to site coordinator and PA to the head of sales. She was extremely popular at work and was the person who brightened up the office. Alice had loads of friends, and in October 2015 she was invited to go on a holiday with her friend Jen to Sri Lanka, as Jen had just split up with her boyfriend and Alice could use Jen's ex-boyfriend's ticket for the holiday. Alice had just come out of a relationship too, so they thought it would be a good idea to go away together and try and get over things and have a girls' holiday and just relax and recharge together. Jen posted several pictures on social media of their trip, and it is one of these photographs that caught the eye of one of Jen's friends. He commented about how beautiful Jen's friend was, referring to Alice. Jen didn't know him extremely well, he was more of a friend, but Alice was curious to know who this man was that found her so attractive. It turned out that it was a soldier by the name of Trimon Dillon, better known as Harry Dillon. At the time he and Alice connected, he was serving as a Lance Corporal in the British Army. He was based at the Glencoe Barracks in Edinburgh, Scotland, but at the time he was serving a mission in Afghanistan. The pair began talking over Facebook Messenger, and the long-distance relationship appeared to be going really well. Alice seemed to be besotted and used to put together packages of things that Harry might like, and then she'd send them off to Afghanistan. They were very romantic and spent hours chatting and flirting online. Dillon was caring, attentive and considerate, and building up Alice's self-esteem and always making her feel really special. However, it was only a matter of time before cracks started appearing in the short relationship between the couple. People started noticing changes in Alice. She was once so outgoing and loved any chance to go out and socialise, but she was becoming so quiet, distant and withdrawn. She was a shadow of her former self, becoming very reserved. Harry would go mad if he couldn't contact her or if she wasn't online when he wanted to speak to her. He was becoming more and more critical of her in every way. He started making fun of her appearance and telling her what she could and couldn't wear. She began to lose a lot of weight and started to bicker with her friends, as Harry was telling her that she didn't need them and that they were toxic, and he started beginning to cause arguments between them deliberately. saying negative things about her closest friends and family or anyone else that she was in contact with, trying to isolate her from them. When they tried to make amends afterwards, he always told her not to take their phone calls or answer their messages. After a big argument with her housemates, she moved out and into a ground floor flat in Rolling Road, Gateshead, with one of her workmates from Sky, Maxine McGill. Maxine's first impression was that Harry was very polite and well-mannered, but so much so that it seemed to be over the top and he seemed to be fake. And as time went on, she got a bad vibe from him, and she felt very uneasy about Alice being in a relationship with him. A few weeks after the move to Rolling Road, a woman contacted Alice on Facebook Messenger, saying that Harry had been getting together with other women, and said that if Alice needed it, she could provide proof. But by this time, Alice was already disillusioned, and she'd started to see through Harry's facade. She confided in Maxine about how she was becoming increasingly anxious and stressed and subdued, and was losing too much weight and was feeling really down about everything. And Maxine told her that she couldn't take it anymore, watching how Dylan was treating her, and told her that the relationship was abusive and controlling, which Alice really already knew. Alice confided to Maxine that on one occasion Dylan wanted to use the bathroom whilst she was in the shower, and he forced her to get out and stand outside the bathroom door. And she was not allowed to rinse the shampoo from her hair first, and she wasn't allowed to even use a towel. She had to stand outside the bathroom naked and dripping wet and wait for him to finish before she was allowed back in. Alice decided that after the claims of cheating and the abuse that she was suffering anyway, she was going to end the relationship. And in August 2017, told Dylan that she wanted out. However, he was not prepared to accept it, and when she tried to call the relationship off, he wasn't having it at all. Dylan was just not prepared to take no for an answer. He bombarded her with calls, texts and emails. Some messages were apologetic and begging her to give him another chance, whilst others were aggressive and threatening. He even texted her mum, begging her to convince Alice to take him back. Alice was at first sympathetic and felt sorry for him, and felt really bad that he was so affected by the ending of the relationship, but he was completely obsessed and would stop at nothing to get Alice's attention. Alice finally had to cut him off and block him from everywhere, as the tirade of messages and calls were just getting too much for her. Alice's physical and mental health started to deteriorate even more over the following months. Dylan hacked into her email and her social media account, so Alice opened a new account, and afterwards she realised that he'd put spyware on her phone whilst they were still together, as he always seemed to know exactly what she was doing and who she was with and where she was at. He was constantly hounding her non-stop, crying on the phone and constantly texting her.
Alice, please, I can't do it. Alice, please call me back, please. I just want to speak to you, there's nothing else. I don't even know if you're getting these voice messages, but please can you call me back? Thank you.
It was really concerning behaviour. Alice decided to go and visit her sister Emma in Germany for a while just to get away and hopefully let things calm down a little. And while she was there, she met a soldier called Mike who was friends with her sister. She kept her new relationship private and very low-key, but Harry found out through his stalking and he was absolutely furious. He contacted Mike, telling him that he and Alice were still together and that Alice was cheating, but Mike had already been told by Alice what to expect once Dylan found out, so he just didn't bite. Alice tried her best to get her life back together. She started reconnecting with her old friends and trying to get back to normal. Dylan was furious that she was moving on without him and told her that he was going to release photos that he had taken of her and also send them to her parents and post them on social media. She was still trying to be sympathetic and kind, but she decided that enough was enough. Alice was lying in bed one night and the doorbell started being rang repeatedly. She kept looking through the little peephole in the door, but she couldn't see anyone. But she knew in her gut that it was him, so she didn't open the door. After a while, the bell just stopped being rang and she went back to bed, and there was a knock on her bedroom window. When she opened the curtain, she saw that there were flowers and chocolates on the windowsill, and Dylan was slowly backing away from the window with his arms in the air as if to say that he surrendered.
Good evening, Northumbria Police. Chris speaking. How can I help you?
Hi there. I just need a bit of advice, really, more than anything. So I split up with my boyfriend about 3 months ago. Since then, I know that he's hacked into my Facebook and also my phone. He's been sending me a lot of messages, even though I've asked him not to contact me. And basically, like, just messaging my friends and things. And then tonight, I had a knock at my door. And, he'd sent me a message saying I've been in the garden since 5. I had a knock at my door. And then when I went and looked, I've got like a little, the thing that you can look through, and there was no one there. And then it happened again 2 or 3 times. And then he's come round the back, knocked on my bedroom window at the back of my flat, it's the ground floor flat. He's been outside and he's like left some flowers and chocolates on the like outside windowsill, and like he walked off. He's not done anything, but I'm concerned. I've been putting off, like my friends have been telling me to call the police. I've been putting it off, but I just feel a bit like shaken up tonight. So
well, it can be classed as harassment.
Yeah.
Which is a crime.
Yeah.
If you do any contact from him, there's a number of things you can do.
Yeah.
You could go to a solicitor and take out an injunction.
Yeah.
Keep them away from you.
Yeah.
Or report it directly to the police now, and we can issue them with a PIN notice, which means if he ever comes near you again or contacts again, he'll be arrested.
Okay.
So which would you prefer?
Can I try that option, please?
Yeah, of course you can. And your name, please?
Oh, sorry, it's Alice.
What's he called?
Well, his name's Harry Dillon, but he's got like a seat name, which is Truman. He lives in Edinburgh.
He lives in Edinburgh.
Yeah. So he's like driven down.
So he's constantly contacting you by phone or text or?
Yeah. Well, I've blocked his number. We've got 2 phones. I've blocked both numbers. So he's been sending me Gmail messages. I haven't blocked him off Gmail because I don't want him to start emailing my work email. Then he's also made a fake Snapchat account to try and contact me on.
We'll need to get the Edinburgh police to go and serve him with a PIN notice.
Okay.
But, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if we can make an appointment to come and see you.
Yeah.
In the morning.
Yeah.
And we'll get the details.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll sort it out. We'll get it sorted for you.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay, Alice, thank you then.
Thanks,
bye.
Police logged the incident as harassment and issued a police information notice, which is also known as a PIN. It's issued when there's allegations being made of harassment, but it's not a court order. It doesn't give you a criminal record, and signing it by the perpetrator doesn't mean that they're admitting any wrongdoing. It was given to Dylan on October the 3rd in his army barracks at Glencoe. The PIN notice states that he's no longer allowed to make any contact with Alice, either physical contact or online, no messages, no phone calls, no visits. His superiors at the barracks told him that his behaviour was totally unacceptable and that it needed to stop. Dylan was really annoyed that Alice had made this complaint and left her a voicemail saying, "I know you've contacted the police and you've gone and got me into a load of trouble." He was annoyed, saying that they had taken his laptop and his phone, which was a lie because they hadn't. He then went on to say something very sinister. He said to her, "I just wanted to give you flowers and chocolates to prove that no, I don't want to kill you. I'm not intending to kill you, and that's all I want to say." This voicemail left Alice really scared. It seemed like it was a veiled threat, and it was really bizarre.
After we spoke and he didn't want to speak, well, he didn't want to call me again. So that's why I decided to come down, just give you flowers and chocolates. Now I'm on my way back. If you want to take it, you can take it. If you want to bin it, you can bin it. It's completely up to you. I just wanted to do something just to say I'm sorry and show that I really am sorry. And yeah, that's the least I could have done. But I know you're not going to come out in front of me and speak to me, so that's why I left it there. If you ever want to speak to me, it'll be good. If you don't, there's nothing I can do. Anyways, sorry for waking you up. Hope you have a good night's sleep. Bye.
Despite the pin being issued, Dylan sent Alice a parcel containing a letter and some of the items that they'd collected during their time together. In the letter he said, "I'm in a lot of shit. I hope you're happy now. I'm sending you everything that I have that reminds me of you, as you now belong to another man. Wishing you two a happy life together, and I will never come into your life again." Alice then contacted the police for a second time.
Sorry, good evening, Northumbria Police. Jeff speaking. How can I help?
Hi there. I've been in touch with the police. Somebody's been issued with a pen so that they can't contact me. However, I've had a letter off them.
So you're reporting like the breach of the pin.
Yeah.
Who was it from?
Harry Dillon.
What was the content of the letter? Was he?
So pictures of me and him, because he's my ex-boyfriend, so like a notebook that I sent him when we were together and a letter.
Okay, what was the nature of it? Was it like threatening or was it harassing? Or?
No, not threatening. It's just saying that he knows I called the police on him and he's had everything confiscated and all he has to himself is a pen and paper and an iPod, and explaining why he came down last Friday. And then it says at the bottom he won't contact, this will be the last I hear from him, but he's said that a lot of times and he never does seem to stop.
So do you want to call back to discuss this?
Yeah, what's usually what happens with it?
Okay, well, I'll let them know you want someone to contact you back, just discuss what can be done.
Okay. Will it be the police officer that's been dealing with my case?
I can't guarantee who it'll be. I'll let them know you've got your pin notice there, so it's going into a breach of it.
Okay.
Is the best time to phone you back?
Any time really will be fine.
Right. Okay, nice. I'll let them know you want someone to contact you.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, bye.
Thanks, bye.
Listening to her voice, it seems that she's ashamed that she's had to call the police again, and the police basically just say to her, "Oh, he sent you a package. What do you want us to do about it then? Go and arrest him?" And Alice, by this time, she's feeling really distraught and defeated, thinking that nothing can be done to stop him. And she once said to her sister Emma, she felt that the police would only respond when he stabbed her. She was always looking over her shoulder, living in a constant state of fear. She used to be driven home each evening after work, and she went straight to her front door. She was taken there by her supervisor, Paul. And once she got inside, she would double lock all the doors. Here, on a neighbour's dashcam footage, we can see Alice after her day at work has finished. As usual, her supervisor, Paul, gives her a lift home, dropping her off at about 5:30, and they chat briefly in the car, and then she gets out and goes into the house. Alice enters the flat through the front door and then double locks the door as normal. She then messaged some friends on social media showing them an outfit she'd bought to wear that weekend, and then she briefly chatted to her boyfriend about their plans for the weekend. Then the messages just abruptly stop and everything goes silent. Just before 6:30, Alice's flatmate Maxine returns home and she can't get in as the door is double locked. So she starts banging loudly on the door and shouting Alice through the letterbox, but realises that there was going to be no answer. So after a short time, she goes round the back and she climbs over the fence and finds a window that is slightly open, and she manages to squeeze through the window. What awaits her is just horrific.
Please, I've just come back to my flat and the door was locked, so I crawled through the window and my flatmate's covered in blood in the bathroom.
Is she breathing?
I don't know, I can't look, I'm sorry.
Okay, try and stay calm.
Alice! 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 Oh my God, she's dead.
And yet the door was open?
No, it wasn't open, it was locked, and I've crawled through my window that was open in the back door, and she's lying covered in blood. She's blue.
Can you have a look and see if she's breathing for the ambulance?
She's not.
She's not breathing?
No, she looks, no.
Where's the blood from?
It's everywhere, I don't know, her leg looks broken, everything.
Say that again, sorry.
Her leg looks broken, everything, I don't know. Alice,
how much blood is there?
There's lots, it's everywhere. It looks like she was in the shower, everything's been knocked over, it looks like she's been attacked. Please help.
Things have been tipped over in the bathroom?
Yes, and everything looks a mess, like she's not breathing, she's actually blue, please. I mean, knew this was coming, an ex is an absolute psychopath.
Say that again, sorry.
She put in a complaint in about her ex and she phoned 101 at the weekend to report that he's trying to get in contact and he says we're going to do nothing. Now this has happened.
Right, who tried to contact her at the weekend?
No, she's contacted 101 because she put in a statement about him 2 weeks ago. And
about who?
Her ex-boyfriend, Harry Dillon.
Right, so she been having problems with her ex?
Yes.
So do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, I can hear the police are coming.
Yeah, they're saying they're at scene. I'll wait with you until they're actually with you.
Okay,
you're doing really well. You're doing really well, Maxine.
Alice was pronounced dead at the scene at 7:30 p.m. Her throat had been slit at least 6 times. She had 24 other injuries. Officers quickly identified Dillon as their only suspect in the murder. The coroner concluded that Alice had died from catastrophic blood loss from the injury to her throat. She also had a knife injury to her face and defensive wounds to her hands and bruising to her back consistent with being knelt on. It was established that she had been placed face down and knelt on before having her throat cut from behind. Police got to work on the investigation and almost immediately picked up his car registration on their automated number plate recognition system. His car was clearly picked up travelling down from Edinburgh to Newcastle earlier that day. He was then picked up on CCTV down the road from Alice's flat several hours before she even got home. Whilst he was in the car, he started messaging a girl on Tinder, making plans to meet up later on that night. At 5:45, his car is then seen doing a U-turn, going back up the road and then parking outside Alice's flat. It is captured again on CCTV 15 minutes later. Just before midnight on the 10th of October 2016, after knowing Alice for only 1 year, Harry Dillon was arrested in his barracks in Edinburgh on suspicion of murder. He was taken to Gateshead Police Station for questioning. He admitted travelling to Newcastle that day, but he said that it was only to visit Alice to talk to her to get closure and discuss why the relationship had ended. He said they chatted at the door, he had not entered the flat, and that he had reached out to hold her hands and that she had scratched his face. After this, he left and drove back to Edinburgh. He denied any wrongdoing or causing Alice any harm. What actually had happened was that Dillon had driven to Newcastle and parked up, waiting for Alice to return home from work. At around 6 p.m, he climbed over the back wall and forced himself through the window. He grabbed a knife from the kitchen and cornered Alice as she tried to get into the bathroom to escape. He knelt on her back to pin her down and slit her throat with such force that he cut through to her spine. He then drove back to Edinburgh. She had tried in vain to fight him off, resulting in the defence wounds to her hands and face. Whilst Dylan was in custody, police discovered Alice's blood on his steering wheel and on his Help for Heroes wristband. He was officially charged with Alice's murder a few hours later. Officers found Alice's handbag, but her mobile phone was missing, and analysis of her phone records showed that she had used it last at 5:40 p.m. to message friends and to speak to her boyfriend Mike. Although Dylan denied having any knowledge of the whereabouts of the phone, the analysis showed that her phone was pinging off mobile phone masts in the direction of his barracks in Edinburgh at exactly the same time as he was travelling back. Dylan's trial began in April 2017 at Newcastle Crown Court. He was still planning to plead not guilty to murder, but the overwhelming evidence meant that his defence team had to change his story dramatically. They claimed Dylan showed up with the intention of getting some of his belongings when an argument ensued. He said he had tried to hug her and then she had scratched him and attacked him with a knife, and then in the process of trying to stab him, she accidentally inflicted the injuries on herself. The prosecution gave evidence that a restraining order had been taken out against Dylan by an ex-girlfriend 3 years earlier. After his ex had broken up with him, he tracked her down and spat in her face in the street whilst hurling abuse at her and her new boyfriend. At the time of Alice's phone calls, unfortunately, Northumbria police had no knowledge of the earlier restraining order. After an 11-day trial, it took just 2 hours of deliberations for Dylan to be found guilty of the murder of Alice Ruggles. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with the minimum term of 22 years. If he had carried the knife to the flat, he would have been given a starting point of 25 years, but he didn't arrive with the weapon and he had just picked it up whilst he was inside the flat. The judge described the murder as utter barbarism and said, "You have not shown a shred of remorse. Indeed, you were only concentrating so hard on getting your story straight when giving evidence that you forgot to shed even a crocodile tear." Alice's parents, Sue and Clive, said that we believe that her death was preventable, and we find it difficult to comprehend that although Alice described in her first phone call to the police that she was being stalked and provided ample evidence, the police and the army were unable to support and help her.
Today, but none of our family, nor any of Alice's closest friends, will ever be the same again. We will live the rest of our lives knowing that Alice should have been here with us, wondering what she would have become, imagining all the people she would have continued to affect with her infectious sense of humour and her sheer love of life. Alice was a kind, incredibly sociable, fun-loving person. She had the ability to light up the room whenever she walked in. We miss her so much. We believe there are important lessons to be learned from what happened to Alice. We didn't think that she was the sort of girl that something like this would happen to. With hindsight, there are many signs of stalking and coercive behaviour that we did not recognise. Everyone should know about these signs. This is National Stalking Awareness Week, and we feel there is a need for much more work to be done to publicise and identify stalking and controlling behaviour, to tackle the root causes and to stop them developing out of control. We all hope to do as much as we can from now on, both on our own and in collaboration with the organisations such as the Susie Lamplugh Trust and Women's Aid, to learn lessons, to raise awareness and ultimately, as we all sincerely hope, to help prevent what happened to Alice happening to others.
The Independent Police Commission investigated the case and found 2 police officers had not adequately investigated Alice's claims. These officers were disciplined and an apology was issued to Alice's family. This has been such a hard case to cover, and it seems that it may have been preventable if the correct action would have been taken by the police at the proper time. It's just such a tragedy. Rest in peace, Alice. And once again, we're at the end of our case for today, but hopefully we can meet again next week and discuss more true crime. But until then, stay safe and look after one another. Love to you all.